What is going on, and welcome on into today's webinar. People are jumping in, people are tuning in right as we speak. So we'll start things off with a little bit of an introduction, then we'll get right into it. But today we are talking about an amazing tool that can help us scan for similar chart patterns and similar patterns that we've seen in pairs we trade, in stocks, futures, and all the things that we trade on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, how we can scan through that in a matter of seconds and dive back through years and years of data that can really give us an edge in our own trading and help us build our own trading plans, our own trading strategies. So my name is Thomas. I run a couple of channels here on YouTube, my own personal channel. I have a TC trading channel and an additional channel where we talk a lot of charts and a lot of patterns and a lot of education on those channels too. And what I want to do today is I want to dive deeper into a new tool that no one really has used except a few people as of right now. And we're going to reveal it all and show you how you can potentially use this in your own trading. And I think you're going to learn a lot from this because not only is the tool new, but I think we're going to understand how we can utilize this tool, probabilities, and past data to help us in the future. And that's the goal by the end, to make that very, very clear. So let's dive into it. We're talking scanning, and you may be accustomed to previously in the past scanning through countless charts and data and all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, it's great. I've done it for years, and over the years I have looked at charts probably a lot more than I maybe want to, and then a lot of people would think is healthy. But at the end of the day, if you want something and you're interested in that thing and you've got a passion for it, you will pursue it and you're going to do it, and it's not going to feel like a task. It's not going to feel like it's a job or work or this or that. And so I have gone through scanning for charts and charts and charts, and I've gone through back testing. You can think of it as almost back testing, right? You're looking for a pattern that you think could work, and you want to go back in time to see when that pattern presents, what tends to happen. And so this tool we're going to talk about today is called CandleScan. And what we do with this tool, what you can do with this tool, is select a symbol and a date. And what you do is you go back in time to that specific date on that specific symbol. And right now, Forex is all we have available, but very, very soon, this is going to be available for both stocks and futures and potentially more. Now, what I mean by that is you can go back through almost any chart you want, and you can highlight any period during any day, and you can say, hey, I think this period is interesting, or this pattern or this time frame is interesting. Let me see if I can find when this happened in the past, or a similar situation happened in the past, what might be more likely to happen in the future. Does that start to ring some bells? I think that's going to get a lot of people who know what trading is actually all about thinking like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I know when I first heard of this tool, I was like, whoa. This is actually pretty cool stuff. So let's get into it. I want to talk about how this tool works. We'll go through briefly how it works, and then we'll have a deeper dive later on that I have a user actually going to come on here and show you how they're using it and all that stuff. So what we have is the basics. If we wanted to pull up a currency pair, so let's go and pull up the euro versus the Canadian dollar. And let's go look at any given day throughout history. I can go back to June 5th if I want to, and I can see how this is played out. And what I could do is that I can go and click on the symbol, the date, and then select range. So I can go in here, and then when I click on select range, I can select the range, any range that I want. And once I do that, I can click on the search bar, and it's going to search for similar patterns. Now, I've done a bunch of these for you that might be a little bit more easy to understand, that I've gone back through. We've got a couple to talk about that could be some trading scenarios that we are more familiar with, or that you might be more interested in. This is just random. I pulled it up randomly, and maybe that's a pattern that you want to play off of, but maybe not. So let's go back to the Euro USD. And if I want to go back to this, once I search, it'll come up in my search history, but I go to the top right of that to where it says pattern, and I'll make sure, hopefully we can adjust so that you can see everything nice and clear. And if I have to move myself a little bit throughout this webinar, I will do so. Like it might pop over here, it might be over here, it might be over here. But hopefully, it doesn't. I make it so that I move myself to a point on the screen where it's not taking up anything that you need to see. So in this situation, we have the euro versus the US dollar. Now, when I select that time frame and I select the date, the pattern, all that stuff, we have just a kind of a run-of-the-mill uptrend. And this right here is a span of about 2 hours of time. When I have it selected to my pattern, that's what we're seeing. But I can jump over to where it says best matches. And now we're going to get a ton of similar situations throughout the past 5 years where Euro USD did something or matched closely to our pattern. And then we're going to be able to see the data behind it. And what I mean by that is this, up in the top, pattern statistics. So we've got kind of your run-of-the-mill uptrend. And this is a first, or I guess one of these similar patterns. Back to my pattern. Here is the pattern that we're looking at. We highlight this, and essentially this tool is going to go, okay, cool, process. How can we find, or can we find similar situations or similar patterns? Let's go back in time. And that's what happens. So best matches is going to do that. Then I go up to the top right where it says pattern statistics. And right here is where the money is made, in my opinion. Here is where things get really cool. It's going to tell you not only the number of events or similar events over the past 5 years, there's 100 options. The past year, 24, 6 months, 3 months, and last 1 month. So not only is that going to give you an understanding of like how, often does this pattern tend to repeat itself, but you're also going to see this on the left-hand side. What tends to happen after our pattern presents? So after our highlighted pattern presents on those similar situations, what tends to happen in the next 15 minutes, next 30 minutes, next 1 hour, 4 hours, and at the end of the day? By the end of the day, the day's close. So for this pattern, you've got your run-of-the-mill uptrend. What you see on the Euro USD, that it's actually not a bad idea to short into that, because more often than not, we actually see Euro USD close lower throughout 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hours, and the end of the day on that pattern. Get you thinking? Trading is all about probabilities. Once you realize that and you unpack that, you start to go, okay, interesting. How can I use this, or how can I figure out a probability of something happening and then use it to my advantage? Well, data like this can be very helpful. It tells you if we've been trending up for about 2 hours on the Euro USD, if I want to take a day trade, odds are not in my favor to go long. Now, you could go long and it will work sometimes. It will actually work a decent amount of the time, but just north of half the time, it doesn't work. And I'm not here to sell you on a strategy. I'm not here to tell you to do this. No. This can be replicated for any strategy you want, any pattern you want. It's the data and it's the probabilities that's interesting, at least to me. Maybe to you, maybe not to you, but at least to me. Here's a situation let's go to my pattern, where we have the US dollar versus the Japanese yen. We have kind of a consolidation, a big dip, and then a bounce back. What tends to happen after that? Not as clear. Closer to 50% on that. How about the pound versus the dollar? Let's go to an example of the pound versus the dollar, where you have a move down and kind of a V-shaped bounce back. And we see that the pound versus the dollar, after that move, we tend to see, in the short term, it move higher. Just north of 50-50 shot of it moving higher. By the end of the day, maybe not so much. Another example of the pound versus the dollar, where we have, let's check out our pattern, a period of consolidation and then a breakout to the upside. Right, so we're consolidating, kind of flatlining, and then boom, big breakout. What tends to happen after that? Funny enough that we end up closing lower. The percentage of the time we close higher is less than 50%. It's in red, meaning that we close lower more often than not across all of these different time frames. Does that start to get interesting? I mean, at least to me, I think it is. Now, let's make sure we stay on track here. With CandleScan, this awesome tool, who is the brains behind this? Well, let's dive into it. Where did CandleScan even come from? Well, Victor, who's right here on the left, and Julio, right here on the right, two brothers, two engineers based out of Brazil that wanted to figure out how to trade. And they've got it's actually kind of funny how similar their experience and their background is to me. and my experience. And I began getting interested in the markets, I want to say back when I was 16 to 18. And as time rolled on, I'm currently 26. And as time rolled on, I got more and more interested. So once I hit college, end of college in 2019, I started to get really interested. And that's what you're going to find that Victor and Julio had similar stories. So like a lot of us, we all get into trading or the markets in some way. And Victor specifically, more through Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Julio from a influencer who was trading binary options in Brazil at the time, back in the late 2010s, 2019 timeframe. And if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you understand that for those who are aware, there's kind of two sides. It's like more like the financial independence, the financial freedom side. And it's not like you have to do crazy things. It's just if you understand how finances work, you could potentially put yourself in a position by doing X, Y, Z to live on your own and to be financially independent and to have financial freedom. And there's many ways to get there. And those of us who are here right now, trading clearly is one of them, right? So that's the catalyst that started it all. And for a lot of us, we have different catalysts, but as time went on, trading became that thing for both Victor and Julio. Let's talk about their journey. And I want to bring in my journey from time to time here because it is similar. Victor started things off. First year was an absolute disaster. Didn't know how things worked. Lost 80% of trades roughly. And check this out. When he told me this, I didn't, this is kind of crazy. I almost didn't believe it because it's tough when you think about probabilities and how trading is just a probability game. Losing 15 out of 16 trades. That's almost hard to do. If you're just flipping a coin and guessing, it's almost hard to do that. But sometimes that's how it goes. You have emotions at play. And early on, I think we think a lot about, when we talk about trading, we think a lot about, I got to be right. I got to be right. But then it's not all about that. It's not all about being right. It's about maybe being right half the time or figuring out a percentage of the time of being right that makes sense for you and then managing risk behind that. And I think their story is going to get more interesting when it comes to managing that risk. So Julio, on the other hand, had a little bit more random results. I kind of correlate more towards these results because I would go on some winning streaks. I would go into drawdown. I'd have ups and downs. And then things started to take a turn in 2020. For me, it was 2019. But at 2019 into 2020, the market started to provide better opportunities and things started to take a turn. It was like, okay, this is getting a little bit more interesting. Like maybe we're able to make some money here. If you recall, if you were around back then, it was the pandemic market and things were going up and it was easier to make money. I looked at penny stocks. That's where I kind of got into things. And both Victor and Julio kind of followed along into small cap trading and seeing, okay, well, can small caps make some sense? And they were hot. Let's be right. Let's be real. They were very hot. But here's a look at Victor's P&L curve, essentially. And this is using a tool, a trading journal that they actually built, which we'll cover in just one second. But check out this P&L curve. This is going to dive deeper into kind of the problems that really were at hand here. So through finding binary options and going into penny stocks and all this stuff, you'll notice that there could be some fees at play. And you might stack and rack these fees up pretty substantially over time. And so what this curve shows that through 2019, not looking good. But then things started to turn around in 2020. And things turned around in 2020 into 2021 very, very nicely as the curve of gross profits was going right up very, very nicely. But net, after fees, after commissions, it's just like, it's not enough. And so the game is not easy as it is, but that makes it just a touch harder when you have to deal with that. Now, this tool right here, actually, if you were to pull up mustasheets.com, it's TradeVibe. And this is the trading journal that both Victor and Julio put together years back. And this is actually when I first came in contact with them. And I did a promotion for my TC trading channel because I'm all about logging, tracking, journaling trades. And I was like, hey, this is a great pair. I mean, this is a great match. We could definitely, team up here. And that's exactly what we did at the time. And it made a lot of sense. But journaling trades is great. Don't get me wrong. And I think everyone should do it. And I would imagine that Victor and Julio would say the same thing, but it's difficult to go back and back test. It's difficult to go back from this period. Like, you're only going to go off the data that you have. And as I take a trade, I journal and I log in, and that's great. But there's just there's a piece to that that's missing. That's like, if I could go back in time and say, well, I got a couple trades here, great. As I build my database, I'm going to have a lot of information. I understand it's going to work and it's going to help me in the future. But what if I don't have a database yet? What if I don't have a lot of trades just yet and I don't have this data to go back and look at? What if I could figure out a way, or what if I had a tool that I could go back in time, find the tool or find a pattern or strategy, or find a pattern, I should say, and then build that into my own strategy and learn from my trading results, learn from this stuff and say, okay, well, I have problems when I get very emotional. I have problems when I'm in drawdown, and I can journal these things and learn from them. But I can go out and figure out my strategy and put myself on the plus side of the probability game from the start. That's pretty cool. And that's where CandleScan came from at the end of the day. And both Victor and Julio, they were actually selling these on Fiverr. Go back in time, and they've got great reviews. 4.9 stars, 5 stars across the board pretty much for their trading journals, budget planners, and even a position size calculator. So they've been in this game for some time, for multiple years. And now they're taking it a step further because they're looking for something to take things just one notch further. So, diving deeper into CandleScan, what I do want to do is I do want to have a user pop in here and talk about their experience with CandleScan, how it works. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a user of CandleScan jump on in, go through, explain some things on their end from their perspective, and then I'm going to come back, and I got something really, really cool once we come back.
Hello everyone, my name is Dane, and today I'll be showing you how you can improve your trading decisions and gain more confidence in your trades just by knowing the statistics behind the chart pattern that you are looking to trade. You'll see that the same patterns happen more often than you think, and that you can use the outcomes from past events to predict the moves that are more likely to happen afterwards. So just to give an example, imagine one of the patterns that you learned throughout your trading journey and that you like to trade. It can be a bull flag, for example. We all learn that we should be buying when it breaks trend, right? But have you ever seen the actual statistics of the pattern, how much it usually goes up after the trend breaks, or how often you'll get faked out just to stop out? The fact is, we end up trusting what we see in videos, books, or what other traders tell us, but we don't really test for ourselves if it is a strategy even worth trying. Okay, so we know that we should know our pattern statistics if we want more consistency in our trading, but how exactly can we do that? First of all, we need to find all of the times that the pattern happened. You can search for it manually in your own broker, going symbol by symbol, then start taking screenshots or logging the outcomes of every single instance in a spreadsheet. But 1, it will take you forever to find and record the days that it happened. 2, you might end up missing similar patterns, which will affect the final statistics of your analysis. And 3, it will take you even more time to do the math and get to a conclusion. Now imagine repeating that same process for dozens of patterns until you find something with a proper edge. Our algorithm can recognize the price action that you select and find the best matches in over 10 years of intraday market data. So all you need to do is study the similar events to get prepared for when your pattern shows up again. Now, let's dive into the example we've been talking about, the bull flag, so that you can get the hang of it and start picturing in your head how you can apply this to your own strategies. So, starting with the first step, we found a few days that had the bull flag that we are looking for, and that's what we will begin with. After you are logged in, select a symbol, then select a date. Now I'll select the bull flag I want to search, which is a 30-minute bull flag from 10:40 a.m. to 11:10 a.m. Here you can select some filters to customize your search. You can search the pattern in many symbols at the same time, for example, but here I'll just keep it in EURUSD since I want to narrow down my search. You can also select how much you want to go back in history. Of course, we will get better matches if we select 10 plus years with a lot of different symbols, but for this one, I want to look at recent stats. It will take a few seconds until it recognizes the pattern and scans through everything to get our best matches. Not all results are going to be great matches, of course, but you'll see the top results, which gives us a great idea of what usually happens after this pattern. Notice that the statistics are based on the selected charts only, so if there is a result that doesn't really match the pattern you want to analyze, you can just leave it unselected. For this one, I want to make sure that they all look like bull flags to me, and that they all trigger to the upside, so that we can see the statistics after a breakout has happened. So we will be looking to each chart individually and selecting the best match to make sure we have exactly what we are looking for. I selected a few of the very best matches we got in my opinion. We can now look at the analytics of them by clicking at Pattern Stats. We can see how many of these events were found in the previous month, in the last 3 months, last year, and so on. So you know how often this opportunity shows up, and if it is a new pattern in the markets or if it has been happening for years. You'll also see what usually happens after your pattern, which is our main goal here. How many of the patterns were closing higher after 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and so on. We'll see if it is a bullish or bearish pattern, or if it is a 50-50 type of trade, which in that case is probably not even worth trying. Now, of course, not all bull flags happen in the morning, like this one, so the more examples you are able to find, the better. You can also try looking for slightly different shapes to compare the results. You will still have to put in the work, but what would take you days to analyze can now be done in a few minutes. This is how you can start to build a system and have a better idea on what to expect for each one of the strategies you are using. Let's go over another example from the same symbol. I found a nice downtrend in the morning that lasted for almost 4 hours on November 2nd. I'll search for the same pattern for the past 5 years. Let's see what happens for the top results. The first match actually bounces just like the pattern we selected, but instead of consolidating and staying at the same level, it kept going down after the bounce. There's no bounce at all in the second one, just a flat consolidation. In the third match, it stays grinding in the opposite direction, but again, almost a flat consolidation. Same thing for the fourth result, a slow but steady grind for the rest of the day. Let's take a look at the stats to be sure of what usually happens. It looks like the pattern is bearish in the very short term, so it must be difficult to time the reversal of a downtrend like that. But after 30 minutes and on, it looks like it is likely to reverse more times than not. So, a good plan for this type of pattern could be having patience to get in, waiting for at least 3 or 4 hours of downtrend, then accumulate dips for the reversal, looking to sell towards the end of the day. Of course, this is just one example, so make sure to look at other times this kind of pattern happened, and consider all other factors you would usually consider for your trades to create your own strategy. Let's take a look at our final example. What if you see a sudden gap in the price and everyone starts talking about that symbol? You don't need to follow the crowd and take a trade you wouldn't usually take. Just scan through the past events so you at least have an idea of what to expect. Check for news and similar events, check the price action of previous days, and anything that might resemble the pattern that you are searching so that you have an extra edge based on history. Let's check what usually happens after this 10 a.m. perk. Again, I'll be scanning for similar results in the same symbol, but depending on the pattern you are searching, you might want to include different symbols in your search. Notice that every time you search a new pattern, it stays in your search history, so you can easily go back to check similar events and their stats whenever you need. And by looking at the top matches, you will see that it already happened multiple times in history. You can go one by one again to see how it usually reacts, but let's take a look at the overall stats without optimizing anything. From the matches I got, it looks like it is actually a bearish pattern in the short term with less than 50% of the results closing below the entry price after 15 minutes. So, it is probably not a good idea to jump on that trade right away if you are looking for a quick trade. The perk might be an indication that the chart is slowly becoming bullish. At the end of the day, almost 60% of the times it closed above the perk. We can keep testing different pattern setups here for days, but my goal here is to show that patterns do repeat themselves a lot and how crucial it is to know how they behave. After all trading decisions we make is because we've seen the same pattern over and over again, right? With CandleScan, we can revisit past events, see what usually happens after, and make smarter decisions whether it is sizing up, sizing down, or not taking a trade at all. I hope I was able to demonstrate how you can use it to help you study the markets and how it can add that layer of confidence you need when all other factors line up. Thank you all. Thomas will continue with the webinar.
Awesome. So you just got kind of a small sample into the power of CandleScan and what this tool can really do. But we obviously can't cover everything, and we can't go through every scenario and pattern in just a webinar. Unfortunately, it's something you have to kind of do on your own, but that's not a bad thing. I say unfortunately in terms of time here. On your own, you can play around and do all of this stuff and customize and create strategies up the yin yang. Test them, journal them, and then roll with what works and roll away from what doesn't work, right? It's as simple as that. And that's what's awesome about journaling your trades. And that's what I kind of geek out when it comes to this trading space. But if you're serious, it's time to take scanning to the next level. So what do we have for you today? We have what I believe is going to be a really once in a lifetime offer for those who want to jump into CandleScan and get started from the ground up. You are going to get something that no one really has been using. I know I just got access to this, and I can't wait for when stocks and futures are added, because it's going to take my trading, I believe, to the next level. It's going to allow me to test different patterns and strategies so much faster. So what do we have? What is included in today's offer is all of features of CandleScan that we showed and more that will be coming and being released. Unlimited search, unlimited stats, even more advanced stats that'll be coming soon. Real-time searches, so you can do this in real time while the markets are open, and then go out and say, okay, well, I'm seeing this. Boom, can I find something that is similar? Do I have an edge here if I wanted to trade this way? Boom. And then, of course, do that for a while, track, journal, and log those trades. You're also going to get lifetime access to any and all updates that are added and included in CandleScan, which this is not something that usually people get lifetime access to in one shot. What I mean. You're also going to get the Trade Vibe Journal, which we just talked about, which is this right here. So you can take and pair CandleScan's data to journal, track, and log all your trades, see how things are playing out over time, and then make adjustments on the fly or over time as you need to. That's valued at $247, by the way. All of this for $574 lifetime offer one time. If you wait, pricing is going to jump to $790 per year after July 12th. And there's actually going to be monthly and yearly options that are going to be way more expensive than what CandleScan is currently being offered at right now. This offer is valid for the next 7 days, but you've got 15 days to get your money back. If you try this out for yourself over the next 15 days and you don't like it, get your money back. There's no risk to you. There'll be a link underneath this video in the video description or around this video to go ahead and get access to CandleScan right now at a price that no one else is going to get access to CandleScan for a lifetime offer. Again, that's also going to include the Trade Vibe Journal, so you can journal, track, and log your trades. Any and all updates, you're in for life right now. This is going to be something that's going to cost people on a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription basis a lot more money than what you are going to pay right now if you get in at the ground floor. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, this is for people who are serious and who want to take action and who actually know that trading is a probability game. We're not selling you a dream where you're going to have this super special pattern that's going to change your life. No, but this is a tool that can easily pay for itself in a matter of a very short period of time if you're using this in your own trading. It's not necessarily a tool that's going to make your money back in one trade, and we're not trying to sell something. That's not how this is going to be. That's not how we want to do things here. And that's not real, right? We're talking about the lifetime, the longevity of trades. That's what we're talking about here. And you can put yourself on the plus side of the probability game if you use something like this and have a strategy that you know already. Probabilities are on my side. If I go long or short here, probabilities are already on my side. Now I got to craft a strategy, build my stops, build my take profits, and figure out the rest. That's on me, but you got a great starting point starting here with CandleScan. It's been awesome to have you guys here for today's webinar. Hopefully you get something out of it. And again, that link below this video, check out CandleScan. Try it risk-free for 15 days. I hope you take advantage of it. There's not much to lose. Thanks so much and happy trading.